Good evening, everybody. This is Dr. Mulder, and today I have with me once again a good friend of mine, Santero David. How the heck are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing just fine. No problems whatsoever.
Yes. Well, I tell you, we really got a lot of great feedback from the last time you were on the air, and I thought we'd go ahead and do this one more time and make this a part B since everybody, I don't know what it is about you, but all the women love you.
The women do?
Oh, heck yeah.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
maybe it's my new mustache here.
Well, I think you saw my daughter at that conference back.
Yeah.
She said, "Daddy, he is so cute."
Well, I've been called a lot of things, but cute's not one of them.
But no, but anyway, the reason I came back here is because you've really done a lot of tremendous work, and I'd like for you to kind of, take the stage here and tell everybody what you've been up to since the last time we did our show.
Well, whatever I've been up to it, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe we'll kind of start from the beginning today because I don't think a lot of people know the beginnings of sacred geometry. And so I made a couple of little charts here to explain that. And first of all, we're going to start with what is called a point. And you can see that's the...
You may have to get closer. Yeah. Okay.
A point. Now, if you enlarge that, a point becomes a circle. If you take the circle and divide it into various parts, this one has 8. And then we have a line and a wavy line. Now, first of all, the point is, in fact, a circle. Within the circle, everything happens. And that's because the circle is basically what we would call the seed or the egg. Mm-hmm. Okay? Now, the straight line is a male symbolism, and the curved line is female symbolism. So all the sacred geometries are made up from a circle which has been divided into sections. And with that said, you can make any of the platonic solids from a circle by using a compass. Everybody knows what a compass is because we all had them when we were in school playing with them. Mm-hmm. And so with that said, I was fortunate when I was in high school that I took up mechanical drawing. I wasn't very good with mathematics, but I could draw, and I could use the tools. The basic tools that you need to do any sacred geometry is a ruler and a compass, and that'll get you there. As a starting point, I have to go back to Egyptian technology, way back in the remote past, and they came up with a very brilliant idea, and that is they did a grid. And you can do a grid of ½ inch, ½ inch, 1 inch, however many sizes you want to do. Mm-hmm. That. The Egyptians used what they call a cubit, which is the length of the arm to the tip of the finger. That was their general practice. And each time they had a new pharaoh, that they would measure his arm, and that became the cubits that they would use during his reign. It's much easier to do sacred geometry if you have a grid, because you're able to keep the lines properly situated within that grid by using that. That took me a long while to learn that. Mm. Now, going back into the ancient times again, let's talk about the archangel Metatron. He sits on the right hand of God. During this process of creation, God gave him the command to be his architect and his mathematician. Now, architecture I can do, mathematics I'm not so good at, but I can measure. So with that said, within the flower of life, which I know you all are familiar with, you can draw any one of the 5 platonic solids. And I'm going to show you a picture of exactly what they are. Get all my notes out of here. So what we have is a Can you see good?
Yeah, I think, let me see, I'll help you. See if I can get it close. Go ahead.
Okay, what we have is a tetrahedron, which is male and also fire. Hexahedron, which is male, earth. Then we have octahedron, which is the child or the product of earth and fire. And the child is represented by air. The icosahedron, which is water, that is female. The dodecahedron also is female, and that is the ether or prana, which is the breath of life.
Okay.
So now, again, all of that can be drawn within the the grid on that circle. It has been a challenge for me for the past, I'm going to say, maybe 6 years, maybe a little bit longer than that, to begin to utilize these ideas and put them together on paper where they made some kind of sense. Knowing all the symbolism of the various platonic solids is a helpful thing. These numbers are, well, we can say they're sacred, yes, and they are also included in the Hebrew alphabet. Each letter has a coordination of a number. The first letter is Aleph, and it is 1. Next one is Beth, it is 2, on down through the 22 of the Hebrew letters. All of these things are connected to sacred geometry, and they all have attributes for their use and our physical self at the same time. Going on further, it's been an ongoing thing. I have to say that I tend to meditate a lot. I'll think about something and then something will pop into my head. Archangel Metatron has been a teacher and a mentor for quite some time, and he has helped me through all of the beginnings of the sacred geometry, learning from it and failing from it at the same time. They have become more and more complicated. Everything in creation is made up of sacred geometry. There is not anything that does not contain it in some form. Take, for instance, a sunflower. The seed is in a spiral within the center, and that is the golden section. That is another part of the sacred geometry. There are a number, something out here. I think some of you are familiar with crop circles. Almost all the crop circles that I have seen have something to do with sacred geometry, and perhaps they also have a deeper meaning, which we may or may not understand. But that is what is called the Julia set.
Yeah, there we go.
There you go.
Yeah.
And that is kind of a difficult little booger to draw. Basically, if you look at it closely, you have 2 circles, one on the outside, another one on the inside, and then a third in the very middle, which is the yin and yang, or the positive and negative. And so from that, you can make that that arc, and that gives you the golden main.
Mm-hmm.
It's also called the golden triangle. And it looks simple to draw,
Yeah.
but it's not as simple
Oh, I can imagine.
as you think.
I can imagine.
Okay. Let me look here. I want to find a couple of other things.
Yeah. When I get it, I can't get over the detail you have on this thing. I don't know. I'm gonna try to get this closer. I mean, there's a lot more to it. I don't know if you can see this on the camera or not. All this stuff is the original's hand painted. And it's just really incredible. This stuff is very intricate. Okay.
Here you can see within a circle you have the cubes.
There you go.
And all of this, again, as I said, can be drawn by simply using the flower of life design.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that flower of life design is an ancient thing. It comes from Egypt, and it probably has been used by Mesopotamian people at the same time. In most cases, I think that originally it was initiated as part of their astrological workings, and they drew information from it by using that the flower of life. That's where it actually came from.
Okay.
Now, when we look at a cube, and I want to find my little drawing here, interestingly enough, cube being six-sided. I hope you can see this.
Let's see whether, yeah, okay, there we go.
There you go. Okay. If you unfold a cube, you are left with a cross. Very interesting that that's how it works. Now, the cross is also part of the Hebrew alphabet. It is the last letter in the alphabet, which is called tau.
Mm-hmm.
And to show you, again, there's a little cube that I made up. And this, in particular, it has the symbols of the sacred fire. And these are basically words and symbols that you can use. And I call this my little magic firebox because it has all those. And I think it opens somewhere, but I'm not sure which end of it opens up.
Did you build that box yourself?
Yeah.
Oh my.
Okay. There you go. So basically, it's just a little box, and you can put your prayer or whatever it is that you need inside of it, close it up, and keep it that way. You can actually write your prayer by using those letters, and there is a chart that shows you exactly which letter each one of those symbols represent. I think you can see them close enough. Yeah, you can see them on the screen.
Oh yeah.
And those are the symbols.
Yeah, exactly. You put it on a radiology
Yes,
device.
you can. Yes, you can. You can use any of the sacred geometry sigils or whatever you want to call them with the boxes. And I think we've talked about that before.
Right. Exactly.
But I wanted to show you a couple of three-dimensional pieces. This is a pentagon, or yeah. And this is what I do. This is my playtime. And so I create these little things just so that I have an idea of what they actually look like and how they're constructed.
So you actually cut out all the pieces and construct that.
And glue them together, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I
It's
mean,
fun.
it's precise.
And this gives me a good idea of how to make them when I want to do the sacred geometry drawings.
Okay.
Another one, and everybody's familiar with that one.
Oh, that is
Is
cool.
the pyramid. Okay. So you can see that it actually is a pyramid, four-sided. And if you take and turn that upside down and put another one on top of it, you have another geometric pattern.
Wow. You have a lot more
And
patience than I
speaking
do.
of that,
Okay.
one of my favorite ones is the Merkaba. And I struggled with this because I didn't have the angles right to do it. And basically, that's how it works.
Man, that's incredible.
And our Earth is exactly the radius of each of these points if you draw a circle around it. And the center part is right there.
Mm-hmm.
Or I should say, right there.
Right.
Okay. Merkaba is one of the best geometrics to use for any of your wishing things that you want to manifest. I use it a lot because it is a very powerful geometric. Now, okay, what else have we got here? People had been asking me about producing these for sale. And so I went around several places to have them looked at to see who would print them up at the best cost. And it became really prohibitive at one point because someone wanted me to make a book out of it. And I thought, oh, that would be a really great thing to do. And although it's prohibitive,
Oh, yeah, you were telling me about that.
it was like thousands of dollars to produce a book.
Mhm.
But I came up with finally found a printer. My friend Fran, she's much more adept at discovering these places than I am, and she knows Asheville a little better than I do too. And so she kind of said, well, let's go to this printer because they'll do a good job. And when I printed them out on my printer from my computer, they came out really kind of dull. This one is is an example of it. You can see the colors aren't really sharp if it shows well on the screen here.
Yeah.
But this printer came up and turned out to be that.
Yeah.
And you can see it's much brighter
Right.
and more saturated. Saturated is the word I wanted to use.
Yeah.
So I put this together because a lot of people have asked about it, and so we have. By the way, I call this little venture that I have here Sacred Fire. It's become kind of a logo and trademark for me, and basically that is the symbol that I use, which is actually a Merkaba. And so this is basically a representation of 25 sacred geometric patterns. And I'll just kind of fan them out there real quick for you to kind of get a look at them.
Yeah. There you go. I don't know if we can really see them that well, but yeah, I don't want to bend the paper either.
So anyway, these are available, and I hope they're cost effective because it was I'm not going to say it was very expensive. It was reasonable as far as the price was concerned. So at $10 a print, I decided that I would put together a little folio of 25 of them for $250. So anyone who is interested can contact me or Brad, and we can get you a set of those going. It's taken a long while for to get these done, and basically, sacred geometry is an unending chore. Well, I shouldn't say it's a chore. It's a delight for me, actually, but it is infinite. And I really enjoy doing it. Each time I do it, sometimes I get a little bored with it, and then Metatron comes along and says, well, why don't you try this? And he gives me a little visual, and then I have to figure it out. And again, as I said, I use that grid, and from that grid, I'm able to keep everything within the scale that it's supposed to be without making one part of it larger than the other part, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's been a learning process, and basically I'm still learning. There's no doubt about that. I think one of the artists that probably was more familiar with it than maybe I was is Leonardo da Vinci, who's one of my favorite artists, as a matter of fact. And he's done some incredible things, and how he's done them, I really have no idea. But he has done some, they're done on paper, but they are three-dimensional in the fact that he's done line drawings to create these platonic solids. And I tried to do a couple of them. I think we showed one on the a program prior to this. It was a very large one.
I remember that.
Yeah. And it is probably the finest one that I've done as in that scale and along that line, because that basically is the pentagon. It has 5 different sides on it, and it has a dimensional front and a back, which is done by shading.
Yeah. What was the one that the sigil that you did as what key was that his name? The things like a size of a coffee table. The one I told you that I wanted to copy that.
John D.
There you go.
You want me to go and show that?
Oh, I'm going to tell you. And how
I'll-
did you do this? And you're working off of what?
Well, let me tell you, I'm working out of a small book about this size. Okay, so let me just see if I can find something here.
I mean, this
All right.
thing, it was so detailed. I could not believe it. I mean, in itself, it was a work of art.
Okay, just say for instance, that is it. I've got bad eyes to begin with.
Oh.
Okay. And I think it's all from doing all this detail work and what have you. But yes, the picture of it in the book that I had was only about that big around, and it has all this tiny little writing and whatever. Give me a moment.
Please go for it. Oh no, you're fine. You're fine. Yeah, this is definitely this stuff just fantastic. You really have to see it in person to get an idea of just how fantastic, I mean, this stuff is. I mean, the detail that goes into these things. It's just incredible. But anyway, oh, here he comes. Hopefully we can give people some idea on, oh man, that thing is awesome. That is museum quality. I don't know. You need any help with that?
No, I think I got it.
Oh,
Now, let me tell you, this is impossible to draw unless you are able to do sacred geometry,
that's what I was gonna say, yeah.
okay? And this is far bigger than it was. You can see where my hand is down here.
Oh, yeah. And what are all the letters on here?
Now,
that-
these letters
Is that
are,
Hebrew or?
some of it is in Hebrew and some of it is in angelic writing,
Ooh,
okay? Mr. D was in contact with an angel called Madimi. And I believe she was the one who helped him create this, and it was done on wax. And I elaborated a little bit more on it by putting the symbols of water, air, fire, and earth.
right. Oh, man, that's just incredible. That is, I mean, really, you
So
cannot,
you can get even more complicated if you start looking at this one goes to over, under, over, under, over, under. Don't make a mistake.
okay, so what is this, like an actual spell, so to speak, or?
It can be used to cast spells and to ask questions, get information from the spirits.
So it's like what do you call it, scrying?
Scrying, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Wow. I mean, that's incredible. That,
Again, as I said, without the knowledge of sacred geometry, you really can't draw things like this.
oh yeah, that's what I'm telling you, because everything you've shown here, that is represented in that sigil. I mean, it's a fantastic stuff. It really is.
I really enjoy doing it, and again, sometimes Metatron gives me a challenge, and I love challenges. And so I sometimes struggle through it, and I tear up 2 or 3 pieces of paper before I get it right.
Yeah.
And I'm happy with it.
Yeah, and I was asking you a question earlier. I have a client who's looking to try to help somebody with a legal issue. Now, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I am. What would you suggest? I mean, is there anything in sacred geometry that you would use?
Well,
For example?
okay, this little box that I call it my little wishing box. And you can put your prayer, your request, or whatever within this box, and there are letters
Yeah,
Okay.
there you go. Yes, get in the camera.
within that.
You do.
And
Go ahead.
I've made a couple
There
of
you
them.
go.
One from
There you go.
one
Perfect.
more. I made one for myself and one for my friend Fran. And basically, this was a challenge because it illustrates the idea that the unfolded cube is a cross. And so if you unfold that all, you get that cross shape. And so that's one thing you can do. You can also use that sigil. You can use a lot of these. The trick of it is the meditation that you put into it. The thought is really the thing. And even with the radionics boxes, it is the thought of the power that you put into it. And by using the stick plate, you can do that. You can leave your prayer written out, put it on the output, and there are lots of different ways you can be using sacred geometry, radionics, sigils for all different kinds of purposes. It depends on which one you feel more comfortable with.
Right. Oh, okay. Yeah, because like I said, I'm trying to look at alternative ways of helping with a problem there, and I'm trying to think of like real life situations where I can incorporate sacred geometry into helping solve certain problems or manifesting things or what have you. And I'm assuming each one of these prints that you have, they represent something entirely different from the other.
They can. There is also the matter of mathematics, numbers, and within a lot of the sacred geometry, I've used certain numbers to represent various ideas.
Mhm.
And I couldn't even go into all the details about what that is, but that gives you an idea. the Bible is full of words with, how should we say, sacred power. And those powers are probably from the Hebrew, because as I said earlier, each one of the letters of the 22 letter alphabet of the Hebrews has a numerical value. So let's just take, for instance, Jehovah. There are 4 letters within the Hebrew spelling of that, and each one of those letters is assigned a certain value. And so, with that said, you can use geometry and mathematics together to create that, how do I say it, that request that you're having to make for whatever reason that you may have. I don't specify anything more than my good health and a continued happy life, and certainly I've had that. And I would also say that when you're doing these requests and you're writing them down, or you're putting them into the radionics bar, think about what it is that you want to say, how you want to phrase it. The wording is very important at the same time. Don't ask for something foolish, because you're not going to get it. At the same time, as I have always said to everyone, nothing is for free. You have to give in order to receive. And so in your daily life, give love and kindness to everyone, and you will receive that benefit back. So you have any other ideas?
Wow. That's interesting. Yeah, it's just I'm looking at this stuff, and something I wanted to ask you. And when we look at Archangel Michael, do you look at him as working in conjunction with the other angels, such as Gabriel and?
Oh, they all work together.
Okay.
They all work together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a certain, and again, there's in other religions, they look at Michael as being on the other side.
On the other side of what?
Like
Goodness?
yes.
No, I'll say that's a fallacy. Michael, he has at his disposal the flaming sword. Now, a lot of people say the sword is a weapon. Yes, it is a weapon. It can be used for good, and it can be used for bad.
Excellent. Yes.
Everything is, you always have the opposite, one side or the other. Yeah, there's a positive and negative with everything. You can't have one without the other, and that's kind of a hard thing to bite onto. And we all wish that everything was always hunky-dory, but it doesn't turn out that way. As a matter of fact, the month of November for myself and Fran has been a horrendous month. Just nothing but misery and well, you name it. It happened, and it's like, is it going to stop? Well, yeah, it will. But we all get our little how should I say, our fill of good and our fill of bad.
Yeah. Every dog has its day.
Every dog has its day. Now, the other thing that I wanted to say that I derive a great deal of satisfaction in doing the sacred geometry, and I think to date, I have probably produced something over 300. My goal is to produce 365, because every day I have basically made a sacred geometry drawing and painting.
Yeah.
And so I was talking to Fran the other day about this, and we were, after we had seen how well the printing came out, said, I'd like to have one of those flip calendars that each day has a sacred geometry design on it. And so that's something we might try and produce in the future.
Yeah.
Or even a calendar, a monthly sacred geometry. So those are the things that I'm finally getting around to. It's been mostly a trial and error for the past, since I've lived here, which is 6 years now. And so now it's sort of coming to fruition, where it is benefiting me in some kind of financial situation, because I've spent a lot of money on paper and ink and you name it. I mean, nothing is free in this life. Nothing. You have to pay for everything you get.
Yeah, and I remember the night I just came back from a long trip, and you called me. You said, "I tell you this about the sacred geometry," and I was trying to. Okay, I've just I've just been behind the wheel for 10 hours, but yes, please, go proceed. And I kind of got a grasp what you were talking about. But I remember at that time, what was like the early part of 2018 is when you really started kicking
Yeah,
off
yeah.
this.
It was shortly after I came here.
Yeah,
I began studying it.
yeah. And I mean, you were telling everybody about this stuff, and it made a major influence in your life. I mean, and look at it now. I mean, what you've done. Not only have you made actual, drawings, but you have 3D representations of this stuff.
Well, I think that it's come to fruition.
Yes.
That's really where I am at this moment. I still enjoy every day. I've got one sitting on the table now. It's just black and white line, but tomorrow I get to put color in there.
Oh yeah.
And so, and that's the thing too, because I try not to reproduce the same color scheme in any two of them.
Geez. And did you hand draw this? Or,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Let me just put
Well, I
it up
draw it
close.
all out on paper first, and then I color it, and then I cut it and glue it and put it together.
Oh yeah, and no one size the same. Is that correct?
No.
I mean, this is incredible. It's just I'm impressed.
There is actually a what would I call it? A chart with all these little symbols on there to represent letters and what have you, which I don't have at my disposal at the moment. But again, as I said, you can take these little symbols and you can write out your request with it if you have the chart to work from.
Right.
But that was something I just stumbled upon. It was in one of the books that I had that I completely glossed over it, didn't really pay any attention to it. And when they turned the page and said, "Oh, wait a minute, what is that? That's the code of sacred fire." Oh, okay.
Oh yeah.
So that's how the little box came. These are like little spurts of imagination that come, and I have to thank Metatron. I really do, because he kind of throws these things at me.
Oh yeah. Wow. Now, when you talk to Metatron, do you physically see him, or or is he
No,
it's like
no.
mind speak?
He's just sort of like on my shoulder and whispering in my ear, and sometimes he shows me a vision of something, and I see it in my mind, and and now he's asking me to figure out how to draw that.
Oh,
Yeah.
apparently he's kept you busy.
He's kept me very busy. Every day he talks, or maybe I should say instructs. He
Oh,
instructs me every day,
Yeah.
and I'm very thankful for that.
yeah. I mean, like I said, my one that I like to deal with is Michael, and Michael's I just like Michael because he doesn't take any bullshit.
Well, all the angels, and there are hundreds of them, but all of them have their duties.
Have their thing, yeah.
They have their duties. Like Metatron is God's architect and mathematician. Michael he can be either benevolent or malevolent.
Oh, yeah, that sounds like me.
Yeah. He can get rid of the negative and bring you the positive.
Right.
Each one of those angels have their purpose.
Yeah.
I think in the Zohar we have an angel in charge of the west wind, the north wind, the south wind, the east wind.
Right.
So each one of them have their duties to take care of this, that, or whatever down here on earth. God is busy.
Yeah, and I learned something very interesting today, that apparently Raphael came down and performed, I think it was heart surgery on Muhammad, according to the Muslims.
I have heard that story, but I don't know it.
And there's another angel, I forgot the name, and please,
Uriel?
No, they taught him how to read and write. I don't know if that's Gabriel or not. It might have been Gabriel. I'm not sure. Uriel?
Uriel, could be. Reading and writing. I'm not familiar with the duties of all the hundreds of angels. I have to
But you see, the thing about it is that all the major religions of the world, we're all working with the same people, or
Let
quote
me
unquote.
say something about that. Okay. In the beginning, when God had the Garden of Eden and Adam and Eve were there, God gave Adam a book. Okay. And it had all the wisdom and knowledge that God possessed within that book for his use on earth. Okay. Unfortunately, when Adam sinned, he removed that book. It flew away out of his hands. And Adam repented, and God allowed him to have that book back. Now, that book has been given to 3 different people: Adam, Noah, and Enoch. It is now gone. We do not have it at this particular point in time. I'd really like to know what that book has to say, because it has all the secrets of the earth. And this is why God delivered the flood, because people were using that book to bad purposes.
To enrich themselves and that kind of thing.
That's exactly. They didn't use it for good, they use it for selfishness. So again, good attracts good, bad attracts bad.
Yeah.
So, it's fascinating. I mean, the more I study this and the more I read and whatever, I see all of these things, and it's just extraordinary. I'm not a religious person. I'm a spiritual person.
Mm-hmm.
I don't subscribe to any one religion whatsoever. I do go to Sunday school, and as my dear friend Fran, she knows that I can hardly tolerate sitting in church and listening to the droning and what have you. However, in Sunday school class, I'm sure that I raise eyebrows every once in a while by the things that I bring up. That, I can see the eyes or
Right.
whatever,
Right.
but they're patient with me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's time for a little coffee.
Oh, by the way, I just want to give Fran her props. She provided the coffee today, and it is absolutely 100% delicious. This is some of the best coffee I've ever had in my life, and she has a secret recipe that she will not tell anybody.
I will say that, anyone who is going to start along the path of dealing with sacred geometry, it's a great thing. I mean, it will open your eyes to so many things and enrich your life. It really will. My library is absolutely, well, it's growing by leaps and bounds.
Oh, here we go.
Well,
Here's
that's another
one.
little toy.
Okay, you got it. Okay, this is definitely, I think the ladies would appreciate this one.
Well, this is a pretty large box, and it didn't have any real purpose, except that it is the use of sacred geometry. You can see in the center of that, that's basically we can call it a star, an 8-pointed star, but more appropriately, if you know anything about jewelry, you could say that was a diamond, because that's the way the facets would look if you look down on the top of the diamond.
Wow.
Those are the facets. And so with geometry, you can make all these patterns. You just have to have a good hand and take the
Do them all the sides.
Oh yeah.
each side is a different color.
I
and
mean,
what have you.
that is
Do the green.
oh yeah, that's just fantastic. Yeah. Wait a minute. Yeah, we need to raise a little bit. Whoops. There we go.
And now this one is a neat little thing.
Right.
Okay.
I'm just going to kind of spin this around while you're getting more.
Goodness, these are dusty. Whether that's because I haven't used them, probably.
Like I said, this is just, and I think every bit of this was hand drawn.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
Now this is a neat little guy. It is a truncated pyramid, and you'll notice on the top one it has Jewish letters. And they're part of the alphabet. I've forgotten exactly what they spell at this particular point in time. Oh, I know what they do. This is water. It's blue. This is air. It's yellow. The black is earth, and of course the red is fire. And so I think there was a what is it? The gods of Egypt. They talked about the fire in the middle of the pyramid.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there is the fire.
Wow.
Okay. Now the pyramid actually is in 3 pieces: 1, 2, and then what they call the bin stone, which is the top point of it.
And what was your inspiration for that?
Basically the symbols for earth, water, air, and fire.
Oh, okay. So you just wanted to represent it with the pyramid.
water, I think I had it in my notes here that the water is of one particular geometric pattern,
Mhm.
and no, I'm sorry, is one platonic solid.
Mhm.
So each one of those are representative of a various platonic solid. Now with this one, it's a little different.
Yeah, that's interesting.
These
Yeah, you
are
have to raise it up there.
now.
So you can get it on camera. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's upside down. It
Okay.
goes this way. This is angelic writing. I have more alphabets for the angels. I have them for the sacred fire. I have the Hebrew letters,
There you go.
etc.
Mhm.
And then of course those are the Hebrew letters for each one of the
Yeah, let me see if I can help you get. There you go. Yeah.
each one of the elements:
Mhm.
earth, air, fire, and water. And that particular one is the one for Leo. Okay, that's my sign. So that's why I have it. And actually, there are a couple of other little things on here. The King of Wands, that also is representative of myself. And so basically, that's what these are. These are personal toys.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But that gives you another idea of all the things that you can do with sacred geometry.
Yeah.
All you need is a ruler and a compass, and you can do this. It takes practice and a little patience, but you can do it.
This is absolute precision work that you do, though. I mean, this is. I mean, well, how long you been an artist? What about?
Since I was a kid, really.
Oh, so about
Oh, yeah.
about 90 years.
Close. Who knows? I may have been an artist in a past life too. Sometimes I wonder. But yeah, I have been an artist, and I have to say that prior to all the sacred geometry and whatever, I would be called a surreal symbolist.
Okay.
That is the term that I would use.
Oh, yeah.
And I had a tree. Now everyone's familiar with the tree of life. That's a Jewish thing with all the sephira and what have you. Each one of those, that's another whole avenue.
Right.
But anyway, I thought, okay, how in my mind would I represent that?
Right.
So I like trees, especially in the wintertime when they haven't got any leaves, because you can see how all the branches go up to them. They're fascinating. So I painted a tree and did all the bark and what have you. And the first one had a string hanging from it and a round ball, which is red. Red is the elixir of life, the color. It is represented by a ball. And so I put that on there. That has been a recurring theme. So that basically is surreal symbolism. Then also I have another one, which is my favorite one, and I wish I'd have never sold it. Joel, I hope you're not watching this. I wish I'd have never sold it, but it was a desperate time in my life and I had to. I painted a dragon coming out of an egg.
Oh,
That is also symbolic surrealism.
yeah. I remember when Joshua and I, I think it was the first time I met you in person, down in Puerto Rico, and you were showing us, your apartment over there, and of course, it looked exactly the way I envisioned it. The place was spotless. Everything was in its place. This guy's the most organized person I've ever seen in my life. And I go to your drawing table and I see what you were doing. And I think that was basically it's like you were starting to dive into what you're doing now.
Well, it's interesting because what happened was I became a Santero there, and I really went into it in a big way, and I did this huge painting of all the configurations of the Odu, which is basically the Bible. Okay, and each one of those symbols means something, and it has a whole page full of information or whatever to give. And within that, each one of those symbols they're usually a configuration of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 different little markings. And they are positive and negative. And so I said, okay, let me do this because I've only seen them in black and white. And so you have to know which ones are female and which ones are male. Male is red, female is black. Okay. I had to take each one of those and make a little tiny line on the paper and fill it in with black, black, red, black, red, and I did all of them.
Right.
And
Right.
that is another piece of work that I wish I had never given, because it would never be reproduced again. I would never do it again, because it was huge. It was
Right.
huge, and there are 300 and some odd numbers, if I'm correct, Odu in that Bible.
Right.
So there were 300 of those little symbols
Mhm.
that had to be correct.
Right.
And I told Joshua when he was there, I said, if you know how to read that, that's a whole story. Like reading the Bible.
Wow. And here's another thing too that Miss Fran brought to our attention here. This is interesting also, an obelisk. Where did this come about?
Well, I've been fascinated with Egypt since I can remember. I remember sitting in my aunt's house, and she had collections of National Geographic way back in the 50s.
Right.
And I went through those, and I was always fascinated by all the Egyptian stuff.
Right.
And I have not been unfascinated since. And so I did these are just a few of the symbols of Egyptian
hieroglyphics.
And some of them are really very interesting, because you may have seen them before, especially that one. Yeah, that one right there.
Uh-huh.
You've seen that one before. And let's see, there is another one on here. Yeah, this one down here at the bottom. That little guy, that one represents life. And I have seen that on Oak Island on a piece of metal that they discovered there. And they have not yet made the connection of the Egyptian symbol on there, because I don't know where that little piece of whatever came from or what it came from, but that symbol is embossed in that piece of copper.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And of course, everybody's familiar with the scarab, that guy right there. So these are just a few things. I thought, well, I've got nothing to do. I'm going to make myself an obelisk. And of course, the top of them are always done in gold. I don't think. Yeah, you can see that it's gold.
Fantastic.
So that's what I do with my spare time when I'm bored.
Okay. Well, I mean, is there anything else you want to cover today, David, before we kind of wind things up here?
Well,
I mean, number one, it's been fascinating. I mean, I think you've shown people more of what you've really, of what you've done here on this show than any other show.
Well, again, I'm just so fascinated with it, and every day I learn a little something. I recently came into the possession of the 5 books of the Zohar, and I'm only halfway through the first one. The 5 books are basically the first 5 books of the Bible, which is Genesis, Exodus, Numbers, Leviticus, Deuteronomy, I'm sure. And it's basically a commentary between rabbis on various stories in the Bible, the wheres, the wherefores, et cetera, and it has been really very interesting. It mentions Metatron a number of times. I go, oh, my friend, So I'm constantly reading, and every night I go to bed and I read 3 or 4 pages because they're small print,
right?
And then the next day I do my notes. I make notes from each one of it, so that I know where to look for whatever, and not having to go through the book and find the information. But every day I do a little study, and that's been my life, and I'm quite happy with it. It fulfills me. I'm happy, and what more can I say?
Yeah.
I'm happy and healthy.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it's just you really had one heck of an interesting life here, sir. And I mean, I tell you, Joshua introduced me to you because I think the first time I ever had a conversation with you was about your wands. You were building wands back then.
Yeah.
And I still have it to this day. It's a wand that had a piece of jade on the front end of it.
Yeah.
And I think you wrapped it in silver wire, and I still have that bad boy to this day. That's just
boy.
yeah.
Oh, I still use my wands. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I do.
And one thing I noticed about it too, like whenever what you designed it for was basically to, to bring in money, that kind of thing.
Yeah, because the jade symbol on it is money.
Right. And every time I turned this thing, it was like I was meeting resistance, like I was running it through water. And I was wondering, where is this coming from?
That's interesting, how do I say it? The air around us, I think a lot of times, you can, our dog, the Wiggler, he's a blue heeler, he barks.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the interesting thing, I have four singing bowls.
Mm-hmm.
When that dog barks, those bowls ring.
So he's in resonance with bulls.
It's in resonance, yes, and that fills the room. And I mean, you're right. It's like water. Did you ever see the movie The Stargate?
Yeah.
Okay, he put his hand through that thing.
Right.
It was like water.
Yeah.
That's what the other side of that is.
So you telling me you sold me a magic wand that actually was magic?
I'm not going to go that far with it, but I'm just talking in general. There are a lot of things that we don't understand in this world, and I believe there is something beyond that.
Right. I've noticed that too.
There is. I can sit outside at night and it's perfectly quiet, and I can hear the earth humming.
Mm-hmm. So you hear the resonance of the.
I can hear it, and I'm not going to say I'm the only person. There are a lot of people who can hear and feel those things. Fran feels it and hears it.
Right.
Sometimes we even see things. So.
Well, what about using stones? Some of the protective stones for your friend.
Well, now that's a whole other story too.
Yeah, because there's certain stones that.
Yeah, a stone for, let's say, legal issues. What would you do?
White.
Something white.
White stone.
We're not talking like an opal. We're talking what?
No,
like marble,
white,
maybe?
marble, white quartz,
Okay.
limestone, white, howlite, white. Let's see, how many other ones can I name offhand? Goodness knows, I've got have drawers full of.
Oh, okay.
Although the stone that I go to for the most time, for whatever purposes that I'm using it, is always quartz, because quartz is a piezoelectrical mineral.
Right.
And it has magnetic qualities to it. It has its vibration, everything. I feel it personally. I feel it more than any of the other stones. So that is the one that I go to.
Right. And that's what I use in my machines.
And that's
exactly. I mean,
that's why you use them.
Yeah, because it works. Damn it.
Yeah,
But the centimori is a protective.
Now, Fran's bringing up all these little goodies that we have around
Around the house.
Frame.
There
we go. Oh yeah.
Oh, here.
Yeah, I'm just gonna picture this is Starbucks too, by the way.
There is a guy, his name is Nicholas Roerich, and he was charged by, I believe it was Roosevelt, when it's either Teddy or Theodore, and I think it was Teddy Roosevelt, because he was the explorer basically too. He sent him to find Shangri-La. On his journey to Shangri-La, he discovered a lot of things that he wrote a book for. And one of the books, and I wasn't even aware of who it was, that I've had all of my, well, I'm going to say the last 50 years of my life. And it's called The Lord God of Truth Within. I've carried that book with me, and I've read it 3 or 4 times. And I think I need to get it out and read it again, because it's just full of stuff. And it was his search for Shangri-La. And within that, there is also, he was searching for the Sintamani stone, or the wishing stone, the wishing jewel. There are basically 3 of them, a red, a green, and a blue. And those are quite well known within the, I believe it's Buddhism and possibly Tao. I'm not really quite sure about the Tao, but I know in Buddhism it is used. I've seen it in paintings. And I never realized what it was prior to that time reading that, but you can see it a lot of the, in the mandalas where Buddha is sitting there down below where his knees would be folded over.
Mhm.
You see three little stones, red, green, blue,
Okay.
or he might even be holding one. The interesting thing about that is, and I realized it, there was a painting, the last painting of Leonardo da Vinci, the Salvator Mundi. Salvator Mundi is holding a crystal ball.
Mhm.
Basically, that is this Cintamani stone.
Wow.
It's also Buddha holds a crystal just exactly like that. Now, how did Leonardo da Vinci know about that stone?
Well, you can say, how do you know about a lot of things?
Yeah, well, anyway, he did. And interesting enough, before I even knew about that, I painted a snow monkey, great, big, huge painting
Right.
of a snow monkey in a bath of steam coming up around him.
Right.
He's holding a crystal ball
Wow.
there. Let me show you how large these things are. They are like the size, yeah, they're the size of a softball.
And you put a flashlight underneath.
And if you put a flashlight, one is blue and one is red. The
Okay.
blue one is the most powerful one that we have.
Mhm.
And these are supposed to have been found in rivers. And you can see on the bottom of them, I don't know if they're-
Yeah, yeah,
you
see
can see sort of a frosted thing.
it. Mhm.
It's kind of like they needed to be ground down a little bit more before you get to that color. Now, how they were formed, I really cannot say. There is very different ideas about how they were formed. The general belief is that they were volcanic glass
Okay.
that ended up in a river, and they were rolled and rolled and rolled
Right.
until they came out like that.
Right. There's another stone that I've heard a lot about. I wonder if you've heard anything about it too. It's shungite.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah.
I mean,
I've got shungite all over the place.
yeah, I've heard that stuff is really fantastic when it comes to dealing with any kind of negative
Negative.
electromagnet.
Yeah, a lot of people use that around their computers and cell phones and whatever, so that you don't get those EMs.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a powerful dispeller of negativity. Very big. I put it in my water tank in
Yeah.
the refrigerator. There's that, and I also have a quartz pyramid in there.
Yeah.
I drink water with that.
Yeah. You know what? One of the things that's inside of shungite, carbon 60.
It's carbon, yeah.
Carbon
Yeah,
60.
yeah.
Remember the stuff I was
Yep.
telling you about is the
Yep.
antioxidant?
Mhm.
So what you're doing is you're releasing carbon 60 into the water.
That's
The
it.
way I understand the Russians, where shungite comes from, that's
Yes.
what they would do. They put shungite in their
In the
water
water.
supply. Yeah.
And they also ground it up later.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, they did. And yeah, I have a lot. I have a pyramid of it, several pyramids out of it. I have a bracelet of beads. I have an obelisk of it.
Hmm.
I'm not sure whether that's going to be able
Oh, here we go.
to see it.
That's my computer.
Yes,
It's not good with you. You want to change?
no, the other way.
You want to
Yeah,
trade seats?
Huh?
You want
not on that side.
You hold it. You do it like it's, you think it's
Yeah,
supposed
yeah.
to.
There you
Well,
go.
yeah, you can see the blue.
Yeah.
You can
There
see
it
the
is.
blue.
I
Yep.
thought that was orange and that one's blue.
This one's blue,
Okay.
and I think this is the red.
I think when you turn the lights out, you can see it better.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, no,
What's
no.
going on here? Hey, they gave you some
This-
quality
this-
rocks.
This has got a.
Just kidding.
Yeah,
think
you
it's
can see
the-
you can see a little bit of the red there.
Yeah.
But it does really glow when you have a good flashlight.
Yeah, you have to have a strong light
Yeah.
because they're very dense.
And
Yeah.
I couldn't find yours and
Yeah.
mine's somewhere lost in the,
Yeah, I think that's an LED flashlight, so it's probably got
Yeah.
a different light than an incandescent.
This house is full of little tools.
Oh, yes, exactly. But yeah, once again, David, and how can people get a hold of you? And again,
Okay.
see, wait a minute here. I don't want to make sure that we're,
Oh, did I
yeah,
miss
no, we're good. We're still recording. Let me get this window off of here so I can see what the heck's going on. Wait a minute. No, I don't know here. Okay, here we go.
Sorry. Okay, gonna give him my address.
Yes.
David Longley, Longley. Okay, and that is P.O. Box 1074, Weaverville, North Carolina, 28787. It's best to write me because I do not spend a lot of time on my computer unless I'm surfing to find out information. And I don't use the telephone very much either because I'm driven crazy with robocalls and fraud calls.
Yeah, I always tell him that whenever I call over here, I say, this is not a fraud. This is not a robocall. This is Dr. Mulder. How you doing there, Santero David? I always give him always.
Say this is a robocall from your roommate.
I'm really how should I say reclusive.
Yeah, he does not like electronics.
No, because they don't talk my language.
Yeah, he is analog, not digital.
Yeah, no, I don't do digits and push buttons. My fingers are used to control a brush,
Yeah,
not buttons.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
But and another thing too, if anybody wants to get a hold of me, you just you can email me directly or contact me. Leave a note in the on the comments section, and I will forward all contact information or all all inquiries directly to David through his wonderful assistant and friend, his friend Fran. And
I call her my social secretary.
oh yeah, yeah. Oh,
because
man.
I just she's much better at that than I
Yeah.
am.
I call her
I have no patience with it.
I call her your sidekick. You know?
Yeah, when we were in Pittsburgh for the retrospective show, they asked who was the photographer because I sent them a photograph of me there. And I said, no, that was my friend Fran. She's my social secretary. I don't do those things.
Oh man, yeah, she's the Ed McMahon to your Johnny Carson.
And she knows more about computers than I do.
Oh yeah. Thank God somebody in this house.
Well, she gets on it and just, she's going away at it. And I'm going like, oh God.
Well, in her profession is a necessary evil.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
Unfortunate to have her because I just can't.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, it's been an absolute pleasure, David, and thank you so much for inviting me up here to talk to you and drink some of Fran's delicious coffee, and maybe she'll give me the recipe one of these days. All right.
And
all right.
do write me. I love letters, and I will respond to letters. Believe me, I will.
Yeah, he responds in longhand. So
longhand.
So if you were born after 1980, you probably will not be able to read his letters. I knew my daughter cannot read or write cursive. She can barely write her own name in cursive.
My younger brother can't either, and he's only 5 years younger than I am.
Oh, that's the new
No,
encryption.
that's really
we need to hand this one in to the CIA and tell them all you gotta do, guys, is write in cursive, and nobody will understand.
Nobody can understand what it is. No. Well, it's interesting, if you want to look at it over the centuries and eons and whatever, we have had various alphabets and what have we, various various alphabets. And of course, we have the English alphabet. The Russian one is different. The German one is different. The Italian one is different.
Yeah.
And then you get into the ancient scripts, which are another thing all to themselves.
Right. Yeah. Well, and one thing about it, you are a true letter writer. This is a lost art because I have gotten letters, especially when he was down in Puerto Rico after the storm. I mean, I got basically a chapter from a book. You were telling, Brad, you cannot believe what these people are doing in my front yard.
All that.
Well, anyway, no, he's seen a lot of things in his life. But no, that was just but yeah, it's just if you want to get a true letter in cursive and have have somebody that was born before 1980 read it for you, this is the man. All right. Well, sir, once again, it's been an absolute pleasure as always, and I've really enjoyed it. And thank you for taking your time.
Well, I love talking about it.
Oh yeah, it's obvious you've been doing it for over an hour, so I guess you have plenty to say. Yeah, but I think this is also worthy of a part 3, and I'm looking forward to the next generation and the next you know.
There's something coming in
I figured it was.
on the pipeline.
Yeah, I figured it was, because I know how you are. You're always up to something.
Well, I think Fran and I are going to kind of start what would you call it, Fran?
Which one? Which project?
Well, the
Project 146 or?
the calendar and.
Oh, the calendar.
with-
You know what? I have an idea with that, but after the
Okay.
podcast,
Well,
I'll tell you.
We're kind of striking out into new ventures and, how should I say, publishing the work.
Yeah.
It's time to publish the work.
Yeah.
That I've been doing.
Yeah,
And it's been a long time coming. Well, it's 6 years in the making. And I'm finally ready to just share more of it
yeah.
with the public.
Oh, fantastic. All right. Well, once again, David, it's been an absolute pleasure. And adios, amigo. Okay, let me go ahead and cut this thing off here and
Did you show
end
it, Matt?
meeting it for all. Yes.